Anybody that joins me, the few of you, I hope that this video will bless you immensely. All praise and glory go to the Lord of all spirits. Abba Father, Jehovah, Jesus Christ, thank you for everything you've done for us. Help us realize that help us to have that personal relationship with you, God. Help us to break away from the matrix that is destroying us, our souls, our spirits, and our bodies. Now, this video, is outside in my back, a couple feet from my back door. When I had health, I made a bunch of like wildflower gardens around my side of the. I live at the daddy house, so I live in a quadplex. And around my place, I made 1, 2, 3, 4, basically 4 or 5 sections of wildflower gardens, so mixed with wildflower gardens and traditional ones. And I made a brick walkway because the place that I got, there was no front or back walkway. There was one, but it was buried in 2 or 3 inches of soil and grass, which gives you an idea how fast soil builds up, even in a place that gets mowed we still got mowed all the time. Whether it was the 150 years, because this is an old house, I live in an old Sears Reeboks, is that what it's called? Sears house, whatever it is. It's one of those things you catalog, you say that's the house I want, and they come show up and they build the house you want. The version of a prefabbed house back then, which still standing after all these years, even if all the chronic neglect from my landlord. But that's okay. In this video, I am going to offer up to you images of what I believe represents what a true totem is. Now, we see this indigenous totem poles, and they always have these things that are supposed to be like eagles and bears and coyotes and wolves and all that, right? Well, the reason why they told you that and kept on saying that is because maybe you forgot this, maybe you didn't even realize this. The officially, quote-unquote, official end of the Indian Wars in America was in the 1920s. That's basically 100 years ago. It's not a very long time. They've still been at war. They've still been trying to exterminate as much as they can of the indigenous population, but any way they can. They want to erase the past completely. But the true totems and what they truly represent are the spiritual realm and different powers and authorities in the spiritual realm. There weren't a lot of talk about that when you look at how the Roman Empire conquered all of what we call the Western Hemisphere, which is probably not a right way of saying it. Of course, because he lied about everything else. But what we call the Americas, and they proceeded to wipe out every indigenous tribe that did not comply. And those that didn't comply, they had to abandon their spiritual traditions. The very first people they attacked were the shamans, the religious leaders, and etc. They wiped them out first, and then those people that would not comply, then they wiped them out. And now we have hardly any of them left. And they're about to do the same thing now with the Georgia Guidestones were set. That means it is set in stone, folks. The first commandment of the Georgia Guidestone is managed by the local government there in Georgia, the USA. It says that to reduce the world's population below 9,500, or excuse me, it says maintain the world's population not at but below 500 million in perfect balance with nature. Allegedly, we have 8 billion more than that. I don't know what to say about that whole thing. Sometimes I wonder if it's probably the right thing to do or not, since we're also strongly disconnected from God and His relationship and His creation, and all we're doing at this point is just destroying it. But saying that, this is a very special image on which you're going to see a Bigfoot, literally. What we call Sasquatch or Bigfoot. Why me? Well, the only thing I can think is because I really genuinely believe in the Lord of all spirits. I praise Him. I talk about Him out loud. I'm not ashamed of Him. And He just starts manifesting stuff for me. And you say, "Wait, I need to go somewhere 1,000 miles away and Florida or somewhere in the Northwest to see the forest spirits when they've always been here, everywhere." I pray that you would open your eyes, stop playing games with us about this, and help us now get rightly related with God and God's Spirit. When you'll know that you're dealing with a quote-unquote Sasquatch or Bigfoot, a real one, because there'll be a lot of our spirits and weird things happening. By the way, I wasn't feeling any fear, any dread when I was doing this. I just took some pictures and filmed a few things. And talked about God and talked about what I'm talking now. What's fun is you start looking clearly at things, you'll be able to see how the spirits will be manipulating the leaves. And there'll be all sorts of different other spirits with them. Would you like to see Bigfoot? Have you seen Bigfoot yet? Have you seen Sasquatch yet? Let's magnify this sucker. There he is. He's right there. That is Bigfoot. That is one of the forest giants. Hopefully this is even one of the guardian angels that I've been calling on God to reveal to me. Of course, there's a head right here and another head right here, flying out here. But there's two eyes, his nose. He's got the little frown on his face. He's got a beard, his shoulders, his cone head. Not pareidolia. We will look a little more. But I want to point out a couple of things. Although you can't really tell right now, see it, but there's spirits starting to manifest. There's a big monkey head right here that I just noticed that I could bring out. There is above him, there's a head right here. There's two heads. There's a bunch of them right here, kind of starting to manifest. This is glory. Maybe if you continue up, there's other ones starting to manifest. You can see they're not the leaves. There's something going right here, and that is no. I don't have any trees around there that would do that. These are actually, I believe they're this with spirit. If you could carry on up, let's see if you see any more. Looks like another old man. It's cool watching these things. It's amazing. There's one right here. You can see the deep reset eyes, the nice eyelids, the nose, the mouth. He's a big guy. I will bring these things up. Oh, there's the one right here. You can see two eyes looking at him, looking at you. Excuse me. Then we'll go back to this dude. And there's Mr. Bigfoot. Mr. Bigfoot, base, he's got to be well over 12 feet tall here. He's spirit, though. He's spirit. So the people are walking in the neighborhood because it was a beautiful day yesterday. In the same time period I was filming this was sometime between 4 and 5:30 when I captured this. Around that time period. We'll say 4:30 to 5. That'd probably be best. People walking in the neighborhood. Although nobody was walking on that side of the street. The other side of the street, there were people walking. If there was a big, mean, nasty monster that wanted to kill everybody, I had every opportunity to. I bet for the size of this thing, it easily should have 2 foot, a 24-inch foot. You think? Let's check it out. Let's mess with it with a little bit of paint.net, and you can clearly see that's what it is. Now, people don't want this. They insist it has to be a flesh and blood thing, and that's because you've been indoctrinated and brainwashed by people who have nefarious intents. The Native Americans, North America, knew that these were spirits. They were telling us that all along. And that all the other indigenous population, all the other different parts of the world, knew this was indigenous, or these were spirits, forest spirits, tree apes, tree monkeys. But no, we can't accept that. We need something and we were brainwashed to think that we needed to accept. It has to be something that's running around, flesh and blood and all that kind of stuff. And who says they don't manifest? Come through the veil at times when whatever that causes them to do it, through rites, rituals, evil things, evil designs of men. They're supposed to be here. They're part. Their role in the forest. Some people say is the protector of the forest. Maybe that's the reason, like places and where you'll find the most aggressive encounters or experiences are places where there's major logging. Now, I'm not against harvesting of the trees and all that, but everybody knows the way they've been doing the logging is irresponsible for decades now. This Rockefeller just just get as much wood as possible to make paper, destroy the streams, pulp, everything. The whole process is irresponsible. There used to be a time when men would harvest the forest, the trees, responsibly, and had respect for the trees, had respect for all that was around them. They didn't just wipe out whatever just to make a few bucks and save a few bucks. An incredible amount of waste is done in the West, and this is true. And of course, it's the same leadership's fault that now wants to eliminate 95% of us. And this thing that says dead weight. That it's our fault for what they've done. And in some ways, they're right. But a lot of it's their responsibility for deadness spiritually and keeping us separated from God's creation. You and I stare our whole lives in front of the scrying mirror, the television, the computer, your cell phones. We have lost so much of reality that we can't see the forest of the trees. This guy is filmed. I praise the Lord God and the Lord of Spirits for it. He's got a lot of friends with him. Once again, right now this is daytime. This is 4 p.m., so you're not going to see the deep resets. The darkness. Like this one, you can see more of the dark of its eyes, right? And he's shooting out this way, and there's a pinkish head under it, because that's how it works, folks. Got to think totems. Got to think these things hook onto each other. And here's one thing: these guys always have a lot of spirits with them. They're never alone. And if you look real closely, there's actually one right here with his nose, his cone head. There's one of the monkey guys. I'm just focused on this one for now. I think my mission here is to share with you that the spirit realm is real. The Lord of all spirits is real, and that finding these things, you can find them in your neighborhood. Do you understand? So, going back to this one thing about all these con games, shell games that are being played on us, you don't need to go thousands of miles to film Bigfoot. You don't need to go thousands of miles if you want to have an experience with these spirits. I strongly recommend that you don't play a game with these things, that you show respect to God and God's creation, and that they have a place, and their role is part of it is to protect the trees. It would probably be a better, wiser idea to plant a tree. I know it sounds crazy. It probably would be a better idea. And not, and who would you plant that tree to? Not to them. When you put them in a status of some kind of worshiping or some kind of God status, then you are the one, once again, guilty of jeopardizing and corrupting them even more. There's the Lord of all spirits. We're all spirits. We're supposed to recognize our Lord of all spirits and appreciate each other, but not worship each other in these things. Not idolize these things or give them gifts and all that kind of stuff. If you're going to make an altar to the Lord of all spirits and see what happens. Well, these things aren't attacking me, since I recognize the Lord of all spirits and focus on Him. I spent no more than an hour outdoors in my back, and took several dozen images, a couple of short videos that I was going to do a video talking about my site, because people are asking me, what is your location, once you go on site, and I'm telling you, you don't have to go anywhere. Literally. If your spirit, your soul's right. That doesn't make me good in any way, shape, and form. When I say my spirit's right, it's because I recognize there's a Lord of all spirits. That's what it is. I'm still pretty much a piece of crap that I've always been. But God's not. So there's Bigfoot. If you don't like Bigfoot, tough. You see most of these images that are supposed to be Bigfoot. I do always want to go back to the other ones that I filmed, because eye shine. I've discovered that really there's actually 3 entities, major entities, instead of 2. But anyways, eye shine, you can still even see in the right angle of the sunlight and all that. In other words, if these entities are facing, say, right now this guy is facing, he's looking at me like east-south, so the sun is behind him. So there's no eye shine. But the ones I filmed yesterday, that have people having a hard time understanding and seeing, I don't know. I think I understand why you have a hard time seeing this, because you did not spend the hours looking and piercing into the image. And so if you don't stop, and this is the problem, is people don't stop. It's one of the most horrendous things about the internet is this dopamine fix, where you gotta have now, fix. And also, it's even worse on the television, right? I mean, every 5 minutes there's commercials, there's everything scrolling. I mean, you're not learning anything but being totally 100% being brainwashed, and to the point you can't even see clearly. You can't think clearly. You can't see. You just think you know what's going on. That's it. They tell you what the truth is, and you just say yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, like good, faithful, stupid slaves. But you're not that, and you can be just like the Israelites. And I'm not pushing the Israelites or the Jews, but I'm talking about the story of them leaving Egypt, or Abraham leaving Ur, otherwise known as Mystery Babylon the Great, which is use of sorcery, which is profoundly real. When you finally realize how much of your life is really under sorcery, and every time you thought that sorcery was just going to be Harry Potter and all that kind of stuff, something silly, and yet you have been under sorcery your whole life, believing all sorts of absurdities that have really no relevance to you or to reality. But the spirit realm is absolutely real. And I absolutely did just film what some people would call Sasquatch Bigfoot. About what, 4:30 to 5 in the afternoon. And thank you, God. Thank you, Lord of all spirits. It's awesome to know there's somebody there. And they're everywhere. Maybe help us to break the spell of all the things that are going on. So many lies. The cryptid community, the Bigfoot community, Dogman community, the paranormal community. You guys are not being honest about a lot of things. You think you are, but you're not. See, if you don't recognize the Lord of all spirits, first of all, you're not. All you're do, you know what? You're just an open vessel to be jerked around with the darker spirits, and that's what they're going to do to you. You say, well, I don't believe in God. Well, maybe it's time to start finding out if He's really real. Maybe you ought to call on Him. Maybe not. Now, it's fascinating with this image, the way it is. If you don't stay focused on it, you can lose it. But remember, there are two little beady eyes looking at you. There's the cone head, the two eyes, the nose, the frown, the lips. Notice they always say the big mouth. And it looks like a big mouth, does it? Imagine, there's the face. They say to have the face, the eyes, and the nose. There's no hair, but he does have a beard. He has cone head. He's got his shoulders. And he's got this right there. And of course, it gets blocked by the police, and more importantly, it's going to be blocked by entities because they're always there. So I'm going to change that. Now you can start seeing who he is. You just don't have two eyes and this just is not paranoia. I'm just sorry to disappoint you, but it's not paranoia. And it's not what you want because of your pride and because you're disconnected with reality. You actually believe what's on television. Did you not realize that all of television, all of Hollywood, Laurel Canyon and all that is all financed by the government, which is a tool of the oligarchs, which is the Western Europe elite. And, the United States is a corporation. That corporation is Washington, D.C. Do you know the original name of what the United States is? Rome, Maryland. I bet you didn't even know that, did you? Did you know that your town is a corporation? Your city is a corporation. Your county is a corporation. Your state is a corporation. You're incorporated. It's funny when this place was first settled by the Europeans, and they had their indentured servants, and they're supposed to have this 7-year, so you'd have work on your butt off, and if you survived the absurd conditions of slavery, then you're supposed to have your freedom. And they always broke the contract. And you know what happened the vast majority of the time to these indentured servants? They escaped. And you know where they went to? The indigenous populations. In the 1800s and 1900s, there was a much harmonious, let's put it this way, the 1700s and the 1800s, much more harmonious relationship with the indentured servants, those who escaped the plantations and the slavery they were under. But it was always who? The godless, who pretend to know God, whose God they call Lucifer, or some people call it Satan. Some even call him Jesus. They call all sorts of names. But if you don't recognize there's a Lord of spirits, and you don't recognize that there's a creation, and that creation is much more vaster than what your high priest of the university and colleges say, the high priest of all the different hard sciences, in which every single one of them has compromised their souls in order to be in their positions. And everyone knows that. Anybody's ever had any time in the environmental field or any of the hard science fields know there's compromise after compromise after compromise, lie after lie after lie. Make sure that the grants keep coming and the money keeps flowing so you have a paycheck. And so science is so corrupt at this point. It's all part of this new religion, scientism. And it's not much any different than Roman Catholicism at this point. Or any of the other man-made constructs we call religions. But there is a Lord of Spirits. I'm sorry if you don't like the name Jesus Christ, but it's true. It has nothing to do with anything. It's funny. All these major religions and others to go way out of their way to hide the true story about Jesus. And the only way you're ever going to know it is if you crack that book open and read for yourself. You're going to find out clearly that the Lord of all spirits doesn't want you to be in a religion. He wants you to have a personal relationship with Him. But most of you will never read the book, never study it, and then when you do study it, you do find out the truth. You're afraid to lose everything that you're going to have, because you will have to lose everything. You see, in reality, and this is how it works, it's God plus nothing. Either you love the things of God, or you love the things of the world. You can't have both. You can't straddle the fence, and you can't play games with it. You definitely, for sure, can't play games with the Lord of all spirits. The dude that created that you and I are looking at, that's looking back at me when I didn't even know he was there. In the neighborhood. Now, I thought you had to go out and have this great exhibition? Not exhibition. In my mind, that just keeps ruining things. It's like trying to do a show earlier. I was thinking about the gangs of New York. I think this was called that movie of Daniel Day-Lewis, and at one end he looks just like him. But anyways, so yeah, there's your Bigfoot. There's your Sasquatch. And I guarantee you, if you're right with God, you focus on God, and you so desire to see one of these things, he'll come. He'll come in your neighborhood. You might, if you want, you can even have him in your back door if you want. You can have tea with him, maybe. But it's all up to you. I not recommended you mess with these things at all, but you just respect them. Just like you wouldn't mess with a bear or a cougar or a lion or a moose or an elk. I think you respect God's creation. I mess with things we have not been doing for a very, very long time. And by respecting God's creation, staying focused more on what really matters is the Lord of all spirits, and not all the horseshit and bullshit that we're still playing. It's funny watching people and I just look at myself and I say I'm 4 years old. I really am still that little child that I'm yearning for adventure, for understanding. Everything is still a mystery type of thing. I'm yearning for that to be back in my life, aren't you? The joys of discovery and all that. Well, God's creation is so immense. There's a whole bunch of discoveries. I can't wait to the things that He's revealing to me about all these not little, just people might call them little people. I don't think they're little people. I think these things are just these little spirits that maybe some people call archons. And when people are not right and aligned with God, then they have maybe some right to mess with your life, cause misery. I don't know. We're going to find out. But I tell you one thing, they're out there. I showed you in the last video, if you watched it. I know I'm pumping these things out pretty fast. But I'm inspired to do it. Inspired to sit back and share it. But I just want you to recognize that there is a Bigfoot, but it doesn't act the way you want it. You see videos of alleged Bigfoot, right? And there's any length of time, and then you don't see a bunch of spirits around it. There's issues. High probability and it could be a guy just in a meat suit. Also, the movement and all things, because they're spirits. The reason why they move so fast is because they're spirits. But we can't accept that. Well, we can't accept the fact that they can manifest and come into the temporal form, physical form. There's no way that could possibly be. Well, that's just stupid. Where's the science in that? Well, why don't you go find out for yourself? Why don't you stop believing in what anybody says? Go find out for yourself if it's true. Why would you trust anybody, especially anybody who's part of the propaganda apparatus, who's lied to you your whole life about everything? Why would you trust anything? You know, as the old saying goes, wise men know they know very little, right? They know nothing. The wiser the man gets, the more the man realizes he's been lied to about everything. And all the wise men that he listened to were nothing more than parrots, pushing the same old agenda for those elite who understand how the spirit realm works. Do you want things to change? You better get right with God. If you think your politics is going to work, you think your war machines are going to work, you think all the human designs and means is going to work, do you not real? Oh, this generation is going to be different. Do you realize this generation, with the technology that has been used against us, we are literally dumber today than a generation before? My parents' generation was much more smarter than us when it comes to practical things. My grandparents were much more, they survived, and so did my parents, the Great Depression. 5 generations ago, they were far more superior, and especially if they were set free or they were not in any of these city-states or reduction camps in which the Roman Catholic Church or other churches were controlling everyone's lives. Therefore, keeping them knowing the full magnitude of life. You understand that? I hope you look more closely at this image. I pray to God that you start developing eyes, because there are so many entities here. There's a big sucker. You can see his 2 eyes right here, and his cone head above him. I told you, if there's a Sasquatch, there's not going to be just a Sasquatch. They are some type of spiritual being that a whole bunch of other lesser spiritual beings are associated with. And I don't even know the Sasquatch that we're looking at is the big guy. Because look at the size of this guy. He's bigger than this guy. Like I said, there's a couple of monkeys here, or gorillas, or whatever, you apes, trapes. There's a big guy right here if I want to bring out, and I will bring out in the video, because we're going to go over this, because it's an important video. These videos are very important for you to realize. So when you go into the woods and all that, instead of wasting your time with all these swing and dig yahoos with their videos and camping out and drinking their, whatever, and oh my gosh, I can hear them chasing me in the woods. Why do you think they're chasing them in the woods? Probably because they don't want them in the woods for one reason. Their spirits are so corrupt and they're not right with God. They know what they're see, these spirits know who you are. You don't realize, but they know who you are inside. And most of you will do just about anything that some other man tells you to do. If they tell you to take a gun and shoot someone in the head, you'll do it. And you know what? You'll find every rationale and excuse for it. Oh, that's my job. I was in the military. No, you were responsible for every single thing you did. You are. And these are the same things that have witnessed us poisoning the atmosphere, poisoning the water, destroying the trees, destroying their forests. Why the hell would they want us around? Now, I'm not some tree-hugging dude, and I'm not into sorcery and witchcraft and whatever, and I didn't exploit these things. I'm just recognizing they exist. And there's a reason for it. And then our actions, the consequences of our actions is much deeper. And I want to understand that they are using the story of Sasquatch, and along with Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030, and to drive as many people back into these city states as possible, and have you fear of the woods instead of having respect for the woods. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, many of you, and just as myself, have had negative experiences with these. But I have to tell you, my negative experiences with these things turned me to the Lord of all spirits. And now I believe in the Lord of all spirits. So their negative, what they did negative to me, it turned into a major plus. Yeah. You know, there is right there, you can see it. That's all too green. There's your Sasquatch. And there are times when they just pierce through the veil for many reasons. We all think it's all mythology. Well, no, the mythology is what you believe in, coming out of CNN and Fox News, and then your public fool system out of television, and 99% of what is called the internet. Your mythology is the fact that you believe you know something, or that you're smarter than people 3 generations ago when they knew how to raise and live in harmony with nature. They managed to, before all this Rockefellerian medicine and the, God, what are the names of these guys called again? The moguls is one I want to say. Robber barons, and they're outrageous. I mean, a guy like Bill Gates should not have any more than 20 acres to him. He can't manage that 20 acres. He's not allowed to have any more. And that guy is one of the largest owners of the farmland in this country. What do you think that is? Also, he's a junior genesis, and so is his father, and so is his grandfather, and his uncle. So what do you think is going to happen? What do you think they did when I go back to Agenda 21? What do you think when they said they wrote that in stone? The government actually maintains the property and protects that monument. It reminds me an awful lot of the UN's building. What do you think they're going to do? What do they think they're going to do? You say, well, what am I going to do about it? What can I do? Well, I'm telling you what you first and foremost have to do. You need to get right with the Lord of all spirits. You need to find Him and cry out to Him. You must understand that there's a huge element to our reality that's far greater, far richer than the physical plane that we operate in. It's all around us. If we don't get right with the Lord of spirits, then we are going to get what we all deserve. I hate to sound harsh about it, but we will get what we all deserve. And I hate to tell you this too, you as a parent, and I'm talking to myself, I got 3 fingers pointing at me. Somehow I get this message across to my son with all the insanity that's going to be pushed on him through the public school system and etc. You say, Mike, take him out. I can't take him out. The system that I in doesn't allow me to have that kind of influence. If I want to be around him, it's every Wednesday and every other weekend, and whenever he decides, it's amazing. He literally 2 blocks away, he can walk and see him. He doesn't. Why is that? Obviously, it's because of things going on, but there's nothing I can do about it except tell you about the Lord of all spirits, and the spirits realm is real, and it's not a joke. And every single one of you, every single one of us will come to terms with this one way or the other. I argue it probably be a very good idea to be in good terms with Lord of the Spirits before it's too late, before we're on our deathbed. I'm telling you, when it comes to Lord of the Spirits, you're not going to have a relationship with him through places that have parishes and priests and bishops. The only way you can have it is if you go search them. I know. I can make this better, bring it out more and all that. But I'm sorry. There he is. He's a spirit. Maybe he could have manifested even clearer. Maybe he could have, broke through the veil more and had, more prominent features. Would that still make you happy? For most of you, it wouldn't make you happy anyways. Instinctively, most of you, when you see these things that are supposed to be real Bigfoot, you know they're fakes. Here's the problem. I can't fake what I'm doing. I can only share it with you. If you have eyes to see, you'll see it. If you don't want to see it, you won't see it. I can't fake this stuff. I can't go over to my neighbors and put, something, or even Photoshop this. Good luck trying to Photoshop any of this. CGI bullshit. The computer, it's not a computer-generated image. It's a computer, through such things as brightness, hue, contrast, etc., curve. You can help bring it out a little bit, but the original image is right before your eyes. I can't change that. Actually, the original image, once it's magnified, is right there. No photoshopping, folks. I want you to think about this seriously. Now, when you think this is a big joke about Bigfoot and all that, there's so much more bigger issues than Bigfoot. There's your soul, for one. There's learnable spirits, for one. What is our realm, really? And what is our reality, really? Those are bigger issues. Do you understand? If you can't understand, try to think. Try to understand. Try to start to understand. I ask you simply to start asking God. Are you the Lord of all spirits? If you're the Lord of all spirits, reveal all things to me. Be my God. Now, mind you, if you don't want him, and you ask him to reveal all things, he just might do that, and you might end up having a bad experience. One more thing I want to talk about, if I can get to it. That's that image that that entity looks an awful like the one that attacked me in 2017. The two entities that I say. I'm coming to the realization that there might be more than actually two entities, and there's a really interesting thing about eye shine. But we look at this entity. Oh, we gotta get a better image of that, because we don't want all the drip. Is there a better? I'll have to find a better one. Oh, there might be it. So first I said there's two, but there's a third one there, and this is eye shine. Do you remember people talking about eye shine and seeing the white eyes or the red eyes? Look at the eye shine. Look at the right of that one. He's a little more, I guess, in the shade or whatever. But this one's looking into the west. The sun is sometime, I don't know, between 5:30. I think it would be like 6 to 7 p.m. Eye shine, reflection of the eye. which is I reflection. It's reflecting something, and if it can reflect the sunlight in that way, is there a possibility that these entities, they can reflect the moonlight? What little light there is. Anyways, it's clear to me that there's more than just the two entities, but this one for sure with the nose and the big grin and the chin and all that and the wrinkly forehead and all that, he looks awful like the dude that attacked me and my son. And there's another one here. I thought first this might be this dude's arm, and it still might be. There's an entity here attached to that, and I need to find a better image. I 100% these are what we call Bigfoot. Totally convinced because of the number of entities that are around them and how they hook up to them. But saying that, and I know people say, God, we need to stop talking about this image. It's an extremely important image. When you tie in the image which I just shared of you, what is called Sasquatch, a spirit, with these things, and you can come to terms with the fact we're dealing with the spirit realm, you are miles ahead of anybody else in their little games. But, so, this is a better one. They always, like Bigfoot, always has, like, a lot of these Bigfoot at least, have these entity attached to them, somewhere around their neck, their head, or whatever. You can see that one right there. And then there's this dude with his eye shine, and that's a great example of eye shine. Is this dude a fro? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on with his head, but I do know one thing. Those are two eyes. In fact, there's actually eyebrows with it and a nose crease that you can see. You know what I mean? Where the bridge of your nose? Or is that what it is? Where your eye is? Original photo. Bring it out. There it is. There it is. Still more of the eye shine. There's something going on with the eye shine now. Is it people want to call eye shine or some kind of refraction or glow or whatever it may be. But this one definitely has it in the one eye, and he has it in both eyes. And that guy, he looks like something that's nothing but trouble. He got busted up teeth and everything if you look at it carefully. Alright, so Bigfoot galore, right? We've learned, I hope you've learned something. And I hope the biggest thing you've learned is that Bigfoot can be filmed anywhere if your spirit and soul's right. You know what I mean? I don't plan on interacting with them. I don't plan on worshiping them. And I don't plan on trying to capture one. I worship the Lord of all spirits, not those things. And they just show up when you start talking about them. Because they're interested not in you and him. I hope this is a very good lesson. And I hope somebody really gets something out of it. Those of you that you're embedded in the deception, and your money's in your reputation and everything's at stake. I hope you choose the things of God and not the things of this world. Let go of the things of this world. Let go of it. It's not worth it. In the end, you're just going to lose. The only way you can be able to win in the long term is through the Lord of all spirits.